Arise then, women of this day. Arise, all women who have hearts, whether our baptism be that of water or of tears. We women of one country will be too tender of those of another country, to allow our sons to be trained to injure theirs. When did we start celebrating Mother's Day? Are there countries in the world that don't celebrate mothers? How big is Mother's Day, really? Well, to answer that, I had to look back in time to about 6000 BC. Okay, a bit too far. The celebration of motherhood can be traced back to ancient times, when the Greeks and Romans held festivals to honour the mother goddesses Rhea and Cybele. Rhea, the Greek goddess of motherhood, and Cybele, the Roman goddess of motherhood, both represented the same things to each respective group, and it celebrated motherhood as a whole. They brought sacrifice after sacrifice to the goddesses to bless their mothers, hoping that they give birth to lots and lots and lots of children. It wasn't until the 19th century that Mother's Day as we know it really started to take shape. In 1872, a woman named Julia Ward Howe wrote a Mother's Day proclamation, calling for women to rise up against war and violence. Here's what she wrote, and I'm going to read some of it because it was truly remarkable. Remember, this was the 1870s. It's not an understatement to say that she had to have giant kahunas to say what you're about to hear. And for context, the thought of women voting had not even been discussed yet, much less women having opinions. That's not coming from me now, that's the 1870s. And she wrote this: Arise then, women of this day. Arise, all women who have hearts, whether our baptism be that of water or of tears. We women of one country will be too tender of those of another country to allow our sons to be trained to injure theirs. From the bosom of the devastated earth, a voice goes up with our own. It says, disarm, disarm. The sword of murder is not the balance of justice. And I thought it stopped there. But the rest of the proclamation wasn't circulated because, well, maybe you can see why. Here's how it ended. In the name of womanhood and of humanity, I earnestly ask that a general congress of women without limit of nationality may be appointed and held at some place deemed most convenient, and at the earliest period, consistent with its objects, to promote the alliance of the different nationalities, the amicable settlement of international questions, the great and general interests of peace. Very cool. What she's saying there is for a call for an international organisation of women. Howe's vision of Mother's Day was a day of activism and social justice, and that made sense at the time. Fast forward
several months later.
It wasn't until 1908 that Mother's Day became an official holiday in the United States, thanks to this woman, Anna Jarvis. And here's where the history takes a sad turn. Anna Jarvis was inspired by her own mother, and at a time when war was looming, she pushed President Woodrow Wilson to declare Mother's Day a national holiday in the US. On May the 10th, 1908, Jarvis marked America's first Mother's Day celebration by sending 500 white carnations to Andrews Methodist Episcopal Church in her hometown of Grafton, West Virginia, in honor of her deceased mother, Anne. It was her own mother that prayed these words: I hope and pray that someone, sometime, will found a memorial Mother's Day, commemorating her for the matchless service she renders to humanity in every field of life. When her mother died in 1905, she vowed to fulfill that dream, and she did. Today, Mother's Day is the third largest holiday in the US. We spend more on it than on Valentine's Day. But wait, I still wanted to find out how Mother's Day was celebrated around the world. Okay, well, you're going to have to subscribe to follow the story, because I just learned that Mother's Day isn't even celebrated on the same day in other places. So, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.